Welcome, welcome, welcome to episode number 50, the big 50 of Mentorship Mondays. I can't wait just to get on line and just chat to you and reflect together on what this journey has been like for the last almost 2 years now. Avetandwa, hi, so good to see you. Lisa Shai, nice to see you. Nozi, the poet, Kwanele. Squire's here, Dorsey's here, Pumeza's here, Sbusile, oh, what a beautiful name, is here, Sapiwa, hi, Dr. Martin Nature, Virtue, hello guys, I feel like I want one of those radio things that goes, pa, 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 it's just such a big moment for me. I just think, small little things should not be discarded because they become big things over time. I see Makunga's here. Huiti, nice to see you. And of course, as you guys join, do let me know where you're joining us from. I'd love to see how many people have been able to join into this conversation. Sis Gugu, hello. And Nina, hi. And Renee, hi. A big hello to all of you guys. I'm home. I'm literally, we're doing this an hour earlier because I have another online engagement at 6, but I just could not miss, I think, this very, very important milestone. And it's a milestone that I think definitely would not have been achieved without you guys. So it's our milestone as the Mentorship Monday community. This is us. I mean, there's so many familiar names that are here Monday in and Monday out, and together we've created the community, and together we've created this. And I just want to say, I love this for us, right? I love this for us. So Nikki's saying she recently watched the cognitive bandwidth one. I'm going to come to that because I want to share some of my highlights. And cognitive bandwidth is definitely one of those because, guys, I have people walking up to me and saying, yo, Nozi, thank you so much for cognitive bandwidth. I don't now bother myself picking out tomatoes and avocados at Checkers because actually I don't have the bandwidth to engage with that. But it is definitely one of the highlights of the conversations. For those who are asking, where did you watch? On YouTube. Remember, we upload everything to YouTube. It's under me, Nozi Pushabalala, and then there's a channel for Mentorship Monday. So I thought the best place to start reflecting is just, guys, how did this start? For those of you who don't know how the journey started, let me start at the beginning. I can see Mom Judy is here as well. Hi, Mom Judy. And let me start at the beginning. I used to get all of these messages on my DMs. I see you, Chucky, I'll check. I get all these DMs, and I literally kid you not, more often than not, I would get requests for people to say, Nozi, won't you please mentor me? Nozi, won't you please mentor me? And as much as I was honored and humbled by those requests, I think the honest truth was I just didn't have the capacity. With the career that takes me traveling around the world a lot, being a new mom, being relatively newly married, it's only been 4 years, although it does feel like forever sometimes. I just didn't have the capacity to do more mentoring than I really was. But I sat with that guilt because you know what they say, to whom much has been given, much is expected. And I felt so guilty about not being able to mentor more than what I was already doing. Huiti, it's so nice to see you all the way from Bots. And I just decided, you know what if I could do an online mentoring conversation? And what if everybody who asked me to mentor them could actually hop on and we just have the conversation? Because I'm a big believer in multiple loop learning. So this idea that I might not be able to verbalize the challenge that I'm confronted with, but as I hear somebody else articulate something similar and talk about their challenges and hear somebody else giving them mentorship advice about what they could do or coaching advice, that too is beneficial to me. And so we learn not only from our own experiences, but we also learn from the experiences of other people. And in the same vein, we don't only learn from our own mistakes, we also learn from the mistakes made from other people and the breakthroughs made by other people and the setbacks and the comebacks made by other people. And so if you take this and you multiply it exponentially, the magic that can happen in a mass mentorship moment, for me, was just really, really inspiring. This idea that we could come together as different people around the world with one sole mission, and that is to make personal and professional progress, and be able to do that together, was really, really, really exciting. So that's where it started. And then along the way, I had to listen to the feedback, and some of the feedback, people were saying, okay, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. And I had to come to a quick realization that I don't have all the answers. And so it was important for me to crowd in other people. And so we've had so many guests on Mentorship Monday. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all our guests who've taken out their time and stepped in as mentors and given us so much insight, so much input from their own stories. And then also realizing that I can't do every Monday. And so a big shout out to Bali, who's done such an amazing job of holding it down in my absence, and other people who have been excited about stepping in and doing a Mentorship Monday takeover. By the way, DM us if you'd like to be a host on the Mentorship Monday platform. We're always looking for people to do that. Unconscious Togo is saying, your conversation with Big Sister Puti reminded me why you are a conversation strategist. It made me envious of people who have experience of you in person. It's the same experience, absolutely same experience. And this, I think, is the beauty of Mentorship Monday. So I wanted to share some of my highlights, but I want to hear your highlights as well. Like, if you've had an incredible experience, if something that you've learned, that you've walked away with, that has stuck with you, let me know. And then, let's talk about it. Let's go back down memory lane together. I think, let me start at the beginning, because one of the things that when I set out to do this, I thought that it was going to be me sharing my journey, and hoping that part of sharing my journey with others is definitely going to help them unlock some of the bottlenecks or some of the hurdles that they might be confronted with in similar environments. And I remember the day it got very real. I was so heavily pregnant, guys. I was so hormonal. I don't know who remembers this, but I got onto Mentorship Monday. I can't even tell you what we were talking about. I started crying. Hormones were like doing me dirty on that day. But I reflect on that moment because I think for me, it hit me how real this was for me. And this wasn't some, performative stage or performative conversation that I was doing. This was like my place where I could connect with my people, my friends, my family, the people who we're building this community together with, and just be absolutely real. And I remember, Futi, in that conversation, it got very spiritual, and there was a lot of Bible verse quoting, and God this and God that. But I think in moments like that, I felt most myself, where I just felt like there was no barrier. And I felt so that I was giving so much of myself, but I was receiving so much from you as well. And how you guys held the space so beautifully for me to actually have those moments. So when I think about it now, I'm like, what were you crying for? Like, I can't even tell you. But now Dick says when I was with my husband, I kept on blushing. So I'm going to talk to you about this episode with Rory right now. And Avatandra is just reminding all of us is that, the influence we use outside Mentorship Mondays. She says, I've spoken to everyone from all over the world, and I'm not afraid to start conversations. I'm not afraid of growth, and I'm not afraid of stories. Avatandra, thank you. I've had so many people share similar thank yous with me that are, I was in Washington about a week and a bit ago, and somebody walked up to me and said, my mentor. And I was like, you know what? This is something really, really special, because it is about the tightness of that bond, that we can gift each other something, a little bit of power, a little bit of belief, a little bit of confidence, so that we can go out and do amazing things in the world. So I want to tell you the story about Rory, but Khute is saying Bali has been a great host. Absolutely agree. Authentic in her skills. And she says, but you are definitely multiplying, Nosy. Your legacy is already tangible. Thank you so very, very much. And we're so incredibly grateful to Bali and hope that we have a few more people that we can add onto the roster. So let's talk about what Avetando is calling Usbarwetu on Mentorship Mondays. So first of all, guys, for those who know my husband, he is an extremely private person. He doesn't even have an Instagram account. He doesn't, he's got a Facebook account. So it just goes to show you with the kind of person that we're dealing with, and doesn't even have X or Twitter, whatever we call it now. And I remember begging him, like, please come on to Mentorship Mondays. And the reason why, and I know this is going to sound so biased, but honestly, guys, I still think that Rory's probably checking in if you guys can still hear me, because somebody on my team is calling me. So I'm just a little bit worried whether you guys can't hear me anymore. Can you give me some thumbs up, feedback? Am I still audible? Because I'm not sure why he's calling me, and I don't want to hang up this live. Okay, now Dick says I'm still audible. Okay, thank you, Squire. Okay, sound is good. Thanks, Togo. Okay, perfect. Oh, you lost me for 2 seconds. Okay, so Koli, thank you. Okay, so let me go back. I was talking about Avetandra's comment where she was saying Rory Usbariwetu on Mentorship Mondays, and I laugh at it because I've had to drag him, literally drag him onto Mentorship Monday, because he's just such a private person. He doesn't have an Instagram account. He doesn't have a Twitter or X account. I know he's got a Facebook account. That's the only way you can like, sort of keep track of him. But I was like, please, I really, and now Dick says I'm still blushing. Hey man, now Dick, I really wanted you guys to experience him, because I still believe that hands down, he's the smartest person I've ever met. Hands down. And the ability to then take that intellect and connect authentically with other people is what I had hoped that you guys would get. And I remember the one time he joined me on a live and he was talking about how to build a strategy for your life. And, you know, so many people wrote to me afterwards and talked about how they were moved, how they were, they began to see their life differently, and how they were taking tangible steps towards doing something different. And I want to firstly say, guys, thank you for giving me the space and the confidence that I can do something like that, to share something that personal with you, because my husband is one of those people who just doesn't like to be online, but he trusts the space. And that's because I told him about the people on the space. And then you guys go and start asking about relationship advice. We say the conversation, because the only way that I got him on is that I told him the conversation was about strategy and building strategies for your life. You guys start coming with relationship advice. How do you stay together? What is the most annoying thing about nosy? Hi, Bana. I'm like, these people, you guys failed me on that day. I will not, I will not lie. But the long and short of it is that he just, he loves the space. He loves this for us. And I'm really hoping that we can get him back. He's not against it and certainly will come back. I've even said, I want to see if I can't ask him to host one on his own. So it's not about him and I, but it's about him giving direct advice. And hopefully you guys will be serious on that day and then not be asking him about what annoys him about me. But it was such a good thing to connect two worlds of mine, my world with him and my world with us together, and to give him line of sight of that. And I even remember when Kusi first joined our family, before our little one came, he even made a feature on Mentorship Monday, and that was really, really good. Okay, let me read some comments. Ave is saying, Tinas, we want to moderate. Hey, guys. Khoichi says, you actively listen and you give the guest mentor platform, their platform, skills that we are picking up in addition to all the amazing topics you choose, and you also encourage us to read. So let me talk a little bit, and thank you, Khoichi, for that. Let me talk about where I developed my love for reading. And I've told the story before, but it's probably one of the most defining moments in my life, and I think it's important. When I was in primary school, 1994, Mandela, the whole shebang. I got to leave the school that I was in, which was a colored school, which was obviously classified as black at the time. It's a long story, but I grew up in a colored community. And yes, I like to think of myself as culturally colored. All the stereotypes, colored stereotypes, I'm that person. And when 1994 came, I was able to move from the colored school to a previously white-only school. And and I remember when I got to that school, one of the things that they used to do is to give awards for reading every term, right? So at the end of every term, right from grade 1, if you read 5 books, you came up to the stage and you got your certificate. Then it was 10 books, then it was 15 books, then it was 20 books as the quarters went. By the time I got to grade 7, we were competing, of course, amongst ourselves. We're all reading. I read 500 books. And it was such a perfect combination of my competitiveness, but mixed beautifully with my love for learning, my love for reading, curiosity. If there's one thing that I wish I could bring back in schools or instill in schools, is something similar to that. Use the subtle tactics that children love, gamification, competition, plays with friends, reading, explaining what the book is about to each other, to really instill their love for reading. It has been the absolute differentiator in my life, not only because I'm not afraid of picking up books, but I want to do it. It's my escape. It's the way that I lose myself. And yeah, I'm learning to read more non-fiction because I was a fiction girl through and through. But you begin to broaden your range. And the more you read, the more you've got to pull from. I surprise myself sometimes when I'm in the middle of moderating and I remember some author who said something and then I bring it in and it just richens the conversation. So, thank you for reminding us, Kuti, that this place is also about really getting people to connect with the fact that leaders read. And it's as simple as that. Nadik is saying, please don't forget to do an in-person mentorship event like you did in 2022. There's a big announcement coming, but not now. It is coming, but it's going to be bigger than you expect. So I also wanted to say to you guys, it was interesting to me to reflect on what was the most, the question that was asked the most, that you'd send me in your DMs that you'd like me to mentor you on. And it was surprising for me, to be quite honest with you. And that is, a lot of people wanted to know about personal branding. And it struck me that we are probably in a scenario, we find ourselves in a scenario where we believe that our brands are what gets us in the door. And I don't disagree with that. But our brands are not the things that keep us in the room. All right? So your brand will get you noticed, but it's not the thing that is going to keep you in the room. I'm not even sure that it's the thing that gets you the invitation into the room. And so we called on a couple of our friends who are like branding gurus to help us. Remember, there was Adebola Williams all the way from Nigeria. I think we had at least 3 or 4 of these 50 episodes. If I said maybe 5, which is 10% of those episodes, were all dedicated to personal branding. And if I can just leave a small reminder about what personal branding is and what it is not, right? Personal branding is not about your followers, the number of your followers, your engagement numbers, and all of these things that we look for when we're trying to suss out who's who in the social media world. Social brand is the perception of value that people think you leave in the room when you are not in the room. So let me explain why I say when you're not in the room. I used to say this to my younger sister. She's not so young anymore. But I used to say this to her when she first started working. And I remember at that time, my sister's gorgeous. Long weave, long nails. And I sat her down and I said, do you want to be remembered as the girl who said something of substance and value in a meeting? Or do you want people to remember you as the girl with the long weave and the long nails in the meeting? And I said to her, you've got to choose what speaks loudest for you. And don't allow competing noises to drown out the essence of who you are. Because this is what happens when 2 people meet and the one person can't remember you. The person that can't remember will say, you know that girl, man, I'm talking about, and then the next 3 words that they use are actually a description of your personal brand. So if they say, I'm talking about, that girl with the weave and the nails and that's your brand. Or if they say, that girl, the one with, she's always like asking like really great questions, always getting to the point. She's so succinct. She's so powerful when she gets in the room. That's your brand. It's not what you think you have packaged and put a bow on and put out there, the nice pictures that you've done. Because we all know we lived in a filtered world. Half the things that people put on social media are not true. Anyway, there are snippets of a filtered life. Your personal brand is the perception of the value that you leave, that people think you leave when you're not even in the room. When people can describe you, and the way they describe you is the way you want to be remembered, that's your brand. That's your brand. And last comment about this, because I talk about this all the time. A brand is consistent across personal, professional. You can't say to me, no, I've got a LinkedIn brand, then I've got a lifestyle Instagram brand, then no. When you are lying on your final bed, and all those people are standing around talking about, doing speeches about how they know you, it is not possible, if you're an authentic person, that the people at work will describe you completely different from the people at home. That means you're an inauthentic person. And because of that, if the people at home will say, oh, Nozi, uyakhuluma, Nozi is so talkative, I'm expecting that the people at work are going to say the same thing, and my friends are going to say the same thing, because that is who I am. So stop trying to fragment and split yourself into different people. Rather, stick to the commitment to be yourself in every single instance, with the caveat. And there's a caveat. There's a disclaimer, right? The disclaimer is this: we are all light and shadow. We are all light and shadow. And what that means is that even the thing that is a good thing in some moments can be a bad thing in other moments. I'll take, for example, my competitiveness. Really good in the professional environment, really good when I'm playing in a team setting because I want my team to win, really bad in relationships, really bad when I'm trying to connect with people. Same person. And the only thing I need to do is to tap into my consciousness about in which moments does it serve me to be competitive and in which moments does it do me a disservice. So I wanted to talk about that just briefly because it's a lot of people keep coming back to me about this personal brand thing. The other thing that I really hope has stayed with you guys, and I'm going to be brief about this, is that you are not what you studied. You are not what you studied. You are not what you studied. What you've studied, the degree or degrees or the diploma, the certificate or whatever it is a tool that is one of many tools in your toolbox. I have so many young people who come to me and say, no, Nozi, I studied public relations. Now I'm stuck because I can't get a job in public relations. So what if you studied public relations? Go be something else. Go try in something else, right? I studied politics. That was my first degree. I've never in a day of my life been part of a political party, been in parliament or it's about understanding, get your mindset right that I am not what I studied. What I have studied is a tool that will bend to be used by me in the opportunity that I find myself in. And so even as a person like myself, who has not had the opportunity to be in politics, I can take what I've learned in the academic space of politics and I can apply it in the work that I do today. You're not what you studied. I know people who have studied medicine and are working as consultants at McKinsey. They're not doing heart transplants. They're not stitching people up. They're taking the medical knowledge and they're taking the discipline of going through a medical degree and they're translating that into a new skill that is required in the here and now of where they find themselves. Okay? All right. Then I had, guys, Mara, we went through a phase, I think, about toxic workspaces. I think there was a good 5-6 conversations where everybody was just, toxic workspaces, bullying, discriminations, microaggressions, and so on and so forth. And I think all of these conversations, even mental health, as part of what we're finding is active in toxic workspaces, mental health issues and problems. And I think if I'm honest with myself now, I can see how that was so relevant in the sense that it was a follow-on from the COVID era that we were coming out of. We're all really attuned to what we want workspaces to mean, right? Squire, I'm going to try and pin this. We were all attuned to what we want workspaces to mean, because suddenly we had a jolted experience of working from home outside of the traditional environment, and then in some instances now being brought back into the traditional environment. And suddenly we were saying, hold on, what does this actually mean? And it was so interesting to realize that we were actually having a global conversation about reconfiguring what the workspace needs to look like. And this is where now the conversations around wellness in the workplace became ever so prevalent. And I must say, guys, I learned so much. As a person who has a team, as a person who is an employer, as a person who considers herself not only a leader of my team, but a leader of my clients, because my clients look to me to give them guidance on what they should do. I just came to appreciate so much that I'd learned, especially from our guests who came on, about how I'm either contributing to a toxic workplace or enabling a toxic workplace. And remember, you can be a bystander, right? Not actively contributing, but because you are a bystander and you don't call it out when you see it, you are enabling that toxic workplace. And it made me think long and hard about how do I want the people who work at the Conversation Strategist to speak about the space when they leave? How do I want them to remember their time here? And I'm a huge believer that you don't hire people for life. I want people who, and now my team, I'm sure are freaking out listening to this. I want people to come to me, work with me, and leave to go and be better versions of themselves, and better because of the experience they had with me. That for me is growth. Leaving me is growth. And being better than what I could have ever imagined, that's growth. And so I want to say, guys, thank you. I learned so much. I'm Zulu. I come from a family and a household where we never spoke about mental health. We never spoke about mental wellness or any of those things, right? And I was personally challenged by a lot of it. I did have moments of thinking, I'm out of this generation. I'm out of this generation. And I really got to a place where I was positively charged by all of you. Guys, see now, one of my people that I'm a fan of has just gotten on. Timbi Samkhototo, I'm a massive fan. So this is a massive moment to have you on this live right now. So all I'm saying, guys, is that I've learned and I'm still struggling through some things. Oh, and this is one of the reasons I struggled. I started to feel like working hard started getting a bad rep. And I'm being absolutely authentic here. And I thought that people were not distinguishing between toxic workplaces where you are being overworked, where there are no boundaries, where you can never say no, and just not wanting to work and wanting to have soft life at work. And I was really struggling with that because I grew up in an era which says input equals output, right? What you put in is what you get out. You finish what you start. It's excellence in and it's excellence out. And so it was really hard for me to adjust to some of that. But I've learned. I lost a team member along the way who we just couldn't align because of a desire for soft life at work versus a boss who really wanted to see outputs. But I'm learning. Squire says, in adding to what you're saying, you're not what you studied, makes you keep on having a growth mindset to keep learning more. Example, I did business, but I have 15 years experience in travel. I can't see the rest of it, Squire. But I think that's exactly the point. It's about seeing every single thing that you've studied as tools in the box that you can pull out. I've studied 117 things, honestly. I've studied politics, international relations, development finance, leadership, marketing, and project management. And all of those things don't define me. They are not my identity. What they are, they're tools to help me do things that I need to achieve. Timbalisi says, Nosy, on the hard work versus soft life at work, I'm fully aligned with you. Sometimes we confuse things. Hey, Hlatse, I also, Tembisile, I agree. When Hlatse says a conversation for another day, I hope we'll have the courage to speak about this, guys. There's a difference. There's a difference, and we must keep that difference. And I see Nolo Piri is also here. Nolo was one of our amazing guests in the earlier episode. So Nolo, thank you for popping by and just giving us a wave. We really do appreciate you being here. Then I wanted to speak. I've got a few more minutes. By the way, guys, if you have questions, do let me know. Oh wait, there is. Oh, okay. The one was a comment. Someone says, please talk about cognitive bandwidth and value over form. All right, guys, I'm not going to talk about value. It's value over volume because I spoke about it in the last one. And it would be great for you to go and check it out. Let me talk about cognitive bandwidth for a second because I really think that one is like, it's quite important. And the place where it landed for me, there's two moments. I learned about cognitive bandwidth from a very good friend who's actually now invited me to sit on the board of an organization that he started at Harvard, and they're now based out of New York. He is a behavioral scientist, and his name is Dr. Eldar Shaffer. And I learned about cognitive bandwidth from him. I think that was like 2013, 14, 15, those days. And I forgot about it. It didn't make sense until my mom died in 2018. And then I understood it. So let me make the two dot connect. I'm in Rwanda and Eldar gets onto the stage. He's giving a keynote about behavioral science. And he makes this example. And he says, one of the reasons why we see people of color underperforming in schools and in workplaces, especially in the US where they're a minority, is because their cognitive bandwidth has been eroded. And I remember thinking, what? That doesn't make any sense. What are you saying? And he's like, well, when you have to make 100 more decisions than the person next to you, the bandwidth of what you've got left to be creative, to think out of the box, to come at your best is heavily reduced. What you have left is whatever you've got left to give. And oftentimes that is what we call the bare minimum. And so if we extrapolate from that, it also means that in the South African context, as an example, Black people who live in the township, for example, who have to take 2 taxis before they get to Sandton. So if you're staying in, not Alex is a bit close, but let's say you're staying in Soweto, you have to take 2 taxis to get to Sandton. And then when you get to Sandton, then you still have to walk to work. And then when you get to work, you're still thinking, I must change my shoes because the shoes you left with in Soweto, if you're wearing high heels, are not the shoes you're going to be doing this journey in. Take off your sneakers, put on your other shoes. Make sure that you're still physically okay. You're not sweating. You're not smelling. And by the way, I'll tell you a story of how I sweated my way through my first interview because Black drama, which I'll speak to you in a moment. And that compared with Mark or Marcus, who drives in from the car that his father gave him at 18, parks in the basement, and sits down in the chair with you. Both of you arrive at 8:30. He's got so much more bandwidth, cognitive bandwidth, to give and to think out of the box and to be creative and to be all these things that are required to be a superstar player. And I heard that, but I really didn't pay much attention to it. And then my mom died in 2018. And I remember this moment, I'll never forget it. I was my father had told me that he did not have he didn't like the casket that came with the funeral policy package. And so he had wanted him and I to go, excuse me, and choose another casket that he felt was like a lot more fitting for my mom. And while we're busy choosing caskets, as we'd say in Zulu, I get a call from one of my aunts, and she says, we are busy here making the stew. Should we buy beef norox or oxtail norox? And guys, it was like a penny dropped. And in that moment, I was like, I do not have the bandwidth to make that decision right now. And so my answer becomes whatever, right? I don't have it in me. I can't engage with the decision between norox and between the beef or oxtail norox. And it left such a, and I remember as she was asking me that, I literally burst into tears. And my father turned around, he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, they're asking me about norox. And he didn't understand, and I think they all just thought it was grief, which it probably was, but it was I could physically feel my cognitive bandwidth being eroded. So, after that lesson, and after that reflection, I've become extremely protective of my cognitive bandwidth. There are certain things that I just will not have an opinion on. It's none of my business. It can be beef, it can be oxtail, it don't matter. And so where I can pay somebody to do that, they're going to do that. If I can get somebody, if I can outsource this to somebody, or just it's fine. I don't have to have a view, right? So I don't do groceries. I don't do, I don't know what soap is used in the laundry. I'm as long as my clothes are clean, dry cleaned, and my child's clothes are, it's fine. And so part of it is learning to let go and understand that you do not have to control every single aspect of what happens around you. And the more you let go, the more cognitive bandwidth you preserve. And you use that bandwidth for the things that matter the most. So I save myself. So my family, my husband and my child are not getting crumbs of me. They're getting the best of me. Because actually I have not been in the house making decisions that honestly I've hired people to make. Right? And it extends to the world, to your work, and in everything else. And sometimes you have to, it's about drawing boundaries even with your clients. To say, no, that one you can decide for yourself. And you can just let me know on email. Just send me an email. And that's actually how, guys, you actually do boundaries. You protect your cognitive bandwidth. You take yourself out of the equation. And you allow yourself to be okay with whatever the outcome might be. So, that was a big conversation. I hope that it remains a big conversation. It's something that remains so important for me. And I just, it has saved me so much. Because I am a control freak. I do like having line of sight of things. But honestly, not anymore. It reminds me then of one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. There was a conversation that we had about 8-type personalities. Some of us here on this call. We don't like to fail. Very competitive. We don't like feedback. We get very defensive when people give us feedback. And even sometimes when somebody tells us something positive, we look for the negative in the positive of what they've said. Guilty? Guilty. And some of you are guilty. So one of the things for me that shocked me out of my 8-type personality, like it shocked me out, was a very good mentor of mine. His name is Ricky Robinson. He's the CEO of a company called LRMG, where I sit as chairperson now, chairperson of the board. And one of the things that Ricky said to me when I first met him, and this is like, I think I met Ricky 2019. Yeah, just like a year or so after my mom's passing. And he said, be careful that you don't get very good at doing the wrong thing. And I just thought, what? What are you saying to me? Be careful. Don't get very good at doing the wrong thing. And once he said that, and I said to him, okay, you've got to help me understand what are you trying to say and where does this come from? And then he began to share with me the characteristics of A-type personalities and how, because we don't like feedback, because we don't like other people showing us the way, because it's like our way or we're not doing it at all, we're going to continue doing the wrong thing and we're going to excel at that wrong thing. We're going to be so good at that wrong thing because we don't have the consciousness to realize that we are leaning our ladder on the wrong wall. So we climb. We're climbing, we're doing all of these amazing things, headed in the wrong direction, doing the wrong thing with no purpose and meaning for us. And so one of the bravest things that we can do for ourselves, especially if you're an A-type personality, is to pause and consider that it is possible for you to suck, but to suck at the right thing. And that's okay. Because once you suck, the next day you suck less, then you suck less, then you get better, then you get better, then you get great, and then you get exceptional. But you have to be open to the possibility that it is okay for me to not be good when I start. Because what A-type personalities do is you want to be the best at everything on day one. We arrive. Yeah, I'm the best. And so that becomes problematic and it rubs people the wrong way. It reminds me of one thing I want to talk about, which is we spoke about this, and I hope that you guys might remember. I don't remember what episode it was. The importance of being a zero. Now, you guys are probably thinking, no Zippo. All of the motivational books tell us that we are this and we're that. Why are you telling us to be zeros? So there was this book. It's written by an astronaut. His name is Chris Hadway, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I'll look it up, right? And we'll post it in the stories. But Chris was an astronaut. He went to Mars. He went to the moon or whatever it is. And he came back and he wrote a book about how to make it when you are in a new environment and how to allow yourself to suck so that you can be better the next day. And he says that there are 3 types of people: zeros, -1s, and +1s, right? So a -1 is a person who takes away from other people. When they step into the space, they are diminishers. They are detractors. People shrink around them. People don't enjoy their energy. People don't feel great about them being in the room. They're -1s. +1s are people who walk into the room and you feel a positive energy. You feel like energized by them. You're inspired by them. You're just like, oh my gosh, those are the kind of people. Sometimes you hear people say, I want that person as a leader, right? Like, I want to work for that boss. Like, I don't care what the role is, but if that person's going to be my boss, that's who I want to work for. So you're probably thinking, well, Nozi, if there's -1s and +1s and +1s sound so great, why on earth do I need to be a zero? Well, Chris Hadfield is the surname, Hadfield. Chris says, you can't walk in and be a +1. And if you think you're going to walk in and be a +1, you're going to be a -1. Because it's people who think that they are +1s from day one, who walk in with a chip on their shoulder and arrogance of, do you know who I am? Do you know what I've done? Do you know what I've studied? Do you know the platforms I've been on? All of that thing, that they come in and walk into the space with the expectation to be respected, to be known, and all of those things. And as a result of that, they leave people feeling like -1s, and they themselves become a -1 because they are a detractor. Oh, guys, I'm so sick. Anyway, and then so he says that a zero, let me take a sip. Everybody's sick in this household right now. So he says what a zero is a person who is conscious of their environment and is not afraid of coming in with questions, with a learning heart, with a curious mind, and not afraid to say, show me how, and tries to understand how have things been happening around here and how can I be a value added to that. Not a person who comes in already full. So you can't teach them anything. You can't show them anything. Because as they come in, they know everything. And so a zero, and being conscious about bringing yourself down to a zero as you step into new opportunities. You know, we talk about pivoting all the time, leaving corporate, going to entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurship, going to corporate. Whatever your pivot is, the consciousness of tapping into the energy of a zero, an open mind, a curious mind, leading with questions, seeking to understand, validating people that you found there. Validating people that you find. I'll say that again. Validating people that you found there. And oftentimes, we come into spaces, especially in some young ones, and suddenly you come and you're this young energy, you know everything, and everybody that is already there should be retired. They don't know anything, and you forget the value in the mileage and the wisdom that they're sitting on. And you can't unlock it because you've decided to show up as a +1. And what that's done is it's turned you into a -1. So be a zero. Okay, then which other one have I not shared? Okay, I'll share one last one because I've got to jump off in like 1 minute. We've spoken about boards, guys, ne? I got a lot of people who DM me to say, how do I get on boards? Like we've spoken about boards. I think all of that's on YouTube. I think we're going to be absolutely fine. Let me talk about some of the personal stuff. I'll talk about one. Because every time I say this, I can see some relationships. So hear me out. It matters who you marry. It matters who you do life with. I've said this. I've said it once. I've said it 10 times. And I'm going to say it again. We need to change the interview process when we are choosing partners. I think, and I reflect on my life and the kind of work I get to do in this world, and how impossible it would be if my partner was not an absolute supporter and enabler of me, and a cheerleader and a believer in me. Right? So, I'll repeat it one last time. Don't be afraid of going to the difficult questions to understand how a person views certain things, and use what-if scenarios. What if I have to travel every month? How will that play out? What if you have to be the one who stays home with the baby while I'm traveling? What if I'm the breadwinner? What if, you play those what-if scenarios out to really get to the core of who your person is and the extent to which they can put up with a person like you, and beyond putting up, to love you because of who you are. And, I used to think, I remember by the time my husband proposed, I was so upset. I was like, this guy, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? By now, like, we've been dating for so long. And in hindsight, I thank God every day that I got married late, that I knew myself, that my husband knew himself, that I knew how to have difficult conversations, that I had built up enough confidence and courage in myself to walk away if it doesn't work out for me, if it doesn't sound like what I need. In Zulu we have the saying, which means the engine doesn't sound like this if the car is going to be moving. So you must make sure that the engine sounds right. And I say to every young person I come across, Ndumiso and my team will tell you all the time, I always say, you can delay marriage. Delay. Because half the time, you do not know what you are signing up for. And you don't know your own boundaries. You don't know you don't know what's important to you in the first instance. Take time so that when you begin to put your I need this, each checklist yako is informed. Because if your checklist yako is romantic for nama flower, nama dates, it's not it. Because there'll come the day when you have an opportunity and you have to go take up a job in Russia. Then what? Then 4:10. And you can't have that. So, if you're already married, bambelel. If you're not, ntasekai, please take the time to make sure that your questionnaire has the what if scenarios of all the beautiful opportunities that could come your way. And test for how this person feels about these certain things and what it would mean for them and how they would show up for you and what they need from you to feel supported, to feel like they are, at the center of your world, and then decide whether that is something you want to contract on or not. There's no other way. We end up scrambling says pagati when what we should have done is had that courageous conversation before we got in. So if you're a young person and you know me, you probably know my preaching. Wait. If he or she is worth it, they will wait with you. Figure yourself out. Buy your own things. Build your asset base. Have a savings, a bank balance that is eye-watering. Then you're ready to go and be a Mr. or a Mrs. or whatever that you'd like to call yourself. So I'm going to close it there. And on closing, I'm going to say, Yabonga, thank you so much. It's been so amazing. It's been 50 conversations. I didn't think we'd get here. To be quite honest with you, I thought we'd do 10 and it would fizzle out because nobody would join. And each and every time, you guys have never failed us. You've shown up with us. You've shown up with your questions. You've shown up with... And I cannot say this more enough. I feel affirmed. I feel seen. I feel supported. I feel celebrated. I feel loved. I feel anchored. I feel grounded. I feel respected. I feel important. I feel important. And that's all because we've done this together. We have absolutely done this together. 50 episodes in the bag. And the next 50 are going to be even better. And thank you so much for seeing what I have to offer and deciding that it's important. Because by you showing up, that's how you've decided that this is worth listening to and this is worth seeing. If it wasn't, none of you would be here. So kubonga mina kakhulu, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys so very much. As we say in Zulu, ningenza umuntu. Thank you. Bye-bye to everyone. Bye-bye.